Sarah, number one, thank you for doing this podcast with me. I'm gonna make it, well, I'll make it as easy on us as possible. It's gonna be just the same as if, when we sat together and just talked each other's ears off about everything and anything in between. So
Beautiful.
if we go on wild tangents, let's just go on wild tangents.
Love it.
Good. Uh, Sarah, tell me a little bit about you, your practice, and like what your day-to-day life looks like.
Sure. Happy to. I'm Sarah, and I am a therapist at Integrative Mind Institute. My practice, oh goodness, we've known each other for years. We all came from the eating disorder world and worked together historically. I kind of got recruited by one of the humans who used to work there, and we all have created this beautiful little practice. My work, what I do, and you said what I do on a day-to-day basis, I see clients on a day-to-day basis for individual sessions. And what I do and like what our practice does, we are all really rooted in like how we approach therapy, how we think about clients and conceptualize cases is really rooted in like attachment theory and in like conceptualizing how your experiences growing up and your family of origin impact how you show up in the world and in relationship and who you are as a human now.
Okay, so we're trying, we're okay. So forgive my big ignorance on a lot of the
You're
language.
fine.
So we're taking our historic lessons and patterning and behaviors and unpacking that as to a reason why that behavior may not be benefiting them now or in the future.
Yes, I think I'd only add the bit more nuance in terms of attachment theory looks at the relationship between primary caregiver and the child and
Oh,
whether or
okay.
not that parent was able to consistently enough meet their emotional needs. So it's looking at your parents' ability to show up for you and how that impacts how you show up in the world now and how you may be trying to get emotional needs met in ways that maybe aren't like attuned or direct or applicable in the here and now. Um,
All right, can you give me some examples as
yeah,
generic
I was just
as we
thinking
can?
about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. As generic as we can make them, because obviously we won't out our patients directly. Yeah,
Fair.
yeah.
So thinking about somebody who did not get needs of like maybe their parent like was not emotionally available. Maybe their parent did not learn how to navigate their own emotional experience. And so maybe there was not space. Maybe their parent like took up a lot of emotional space in the household.
Okay.
Maybe maybe there was just like not enough emotional space for a kid to have. You have kids. I know that you have
Yeah,
kids and they have lots of big feelings. And so
yeah.
maybe there wasn't space for a kid's feelings. Somewhere down the line, there could be they how they have learned to like express themselves or get needs met for seeing being like seen or heard or expressing these feelings might be sideways. It might be like coming out through something self-destructive. It might be like suppressing it and like pretending like they don't have feelings and needs.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. Like when you say, here's what I got. I got like a big big Italian family with a very expressive mom. Well, we love Italians, so we're just going to
We
stick
do.
with that for now. But I just see that highly expressive um, maternal figure where, hold on a second, there's too much emotion just under one character that we can't present. There's no space. You said that there's no space for us to present our own emotional level. And so whether then you're right, whether we just bury that inside, whether we just push it off to somebody else, or we express it in a manner that may not be beneficial.
Yeah, may not actually like get heard or seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
So how do you unpack that for somebody? Where's the starting point? I mean, because when you're in that level of emotional instability, it's you don't know that you're not you because
Sure.
that's your normal, right? I mean, it's
Right.
just yeah. So where do you start with somebody who has some level of emotional, what we see as, well, let's just say instability?
Sure. To normalize, most humans have some flavor of insecure attachment. So, parents aren't perfect, and that is perfectly lovely and acceptable. And also, like, this attachment trauma or attachment injury varies on a spectrum entirely. So I think the question is like, where do we fit on that spectrum? Like, what is your attachment style? How are you trying to get emotional needs met?
Hmm.
And I'm trying to think of the words I want to use. W- Kindly, like, what is the willingness to change or do something differently?
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. So
So,
for how we see it in our world is it's typically people are at that I need to do something differently. Like I can't I can't take more Advil. I can't take more Tylenol. I can't
right,
I can't I mean, I'm running out of icy hot again for my third jar. Like
yeah,
I don't want to do PT. I don't want to do surgery. Like,
sure.
all right, well, you're my last resort, I guess. I guess I have to do this. Okay, so we're in similar boats, right?
And it can be that way,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
I think it is. People choose to be here more than not, especially like in this like outpatient level of care. So, fortunately, most humans are willing, but some humans, when it's like they're faced with, you said, how do you like do this work or how do you address this work? I think um, a lot of it's modeling on my end. Um, and I think a lot of it is also insight, awareness, learning, being able to slow down, and then doing some like unlearning. And some humans, it's a lot of work and it takes a lot of time. And
yeah.
so I find that some humans are like, oh my God, this is a lot. This is exhausting.
There was I remember us talking about this, and if we did, it was just a memory I had of us talking about this,
There
where there's a lot of comfort in discomfort,
can be.
and
Yeah,
it could be very familiar because
absolutely.
they can depend upon it. They can depend upon those memories. They can depend upon whatever manifestation that they had, and it's something reliable.
Yeah,
And having to take that big step into something new can be very uncomfortable. It could be a big challenge for
absolutely.
somebody just to try to do, like, even though we're like, why are you biting your fingernails like all the time? Like you have nubs. Like, why? Well, what do you mean? That's just who I am. Well, there's better things out there.
Right,
Let's unpack that.
right.
Yeah.
There is a different option. There's a different choice.
Yeah. What I'm always curious on trends, and especially in our wonderful
Mm,
digital age that we're seeing, um, I when I grew up, it was the first cell phones and first flip phones, and then
yes,
Blackberries, and then Apple iPhones, and then whatever. Our childhood was different,
yeah,
from most.
sure.
What kind of what trends are you seeing in your own sphere that you as the expert could be like, all right, I got the playbook for this. Even
Mm,
as much as every person is an individual, but we can template some things.
trends. I I think that's a tricky question. I think. I think that there are like hot topic words that I hear a lot that are like
Ooh, okay, sure.
Like, I mean, not necessarily in here as much, but like
in the world of mental health,
and in
helping.
like the social media mental
Yeah,
health sphere.
yeah. Agreed.
So like, I mean, don't get me wrong, we love attachment theory, we've just been talking about it.
Hmm.
It is also like gaining traction in the social media world. Like it is gaining traction with lay people, which is awesome. Um, some of the terms that like get really thrown around on social media that I don't love how they're being used are things like narcissism, or like person's totally a narcissist. And gaslighting. Um, those get like really overused. And don't get me wrong, like there are humans who are absolutely have like narcissistic personality disorder, and there are humans who absolutely have narcissistic adaptations, and there are absolutely humans who've been
Hmm.
gaslit and do gaslighting. I think that some of the context in which they're being used is not entirely accurate.
Okay, so the circumstances by which something is happening, they're defining it wrong.
Not entirely inaccurately, but yeah, I think it's being maybe overgeneralized.
Okay, fair.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think of like anything in my direct sphere. I mean, attachment theory comes up with all of my clients. I think talking about our political climate is a trend.
Mhm.
Like that comes up in the majority of my sessions at this point.
Why do you think that is? You think and my assumption is that we're just inundated with it nonstop all the time, no matter which side of the aisle you're on, it makes no difference.
I think I am working with humans who are humans who are humans in this world, and they are directly impacted one way or another by the political climate, by this
Yeah,
administration.
yeah,
So yes, absolutely. I think a part of it is inundated with information. And I also think that there are a lot of like components of therapy that can be political or can have be connected to someone's varying identities or intersectional identities. And
sure. And okay, so let's just use a big generalization.
please,
Let's just say purple shirts. So I'm saying, Sarah, as the government, me as the government, say, hey, we no longer you can no longer wear purple shirts because purple shirts is no more purple shirts. And you're like, well, that's my wardrobe. And I want to wear purple shirts. Like, that doesn't work for me. I don't know what you want. And so, therefore, that is now a new source of stress and anxiety and complication in your life
yes,
because then a political entity has said, "Hey, we're not going to do any more purple shirts."
you got it.
Okay, all right,
Yes, you've absolutely got it. I like the purple shirts.
perfect.
Yes. I can't really think of anything else though that like feels like it consistently comes up in here. I think
Okay.
things go in waves.
Hmm.
Um, I find myself talking about grief in session for like a week and a half with a lot of people. And then I find myself talking about um, like reenacting dynamics or patterns for like a week and a half in my sessions. And so like I think there's waves of things, and I think it's probably partially like what's on my mind and what's in
Hmm.
my forefront. But I think that there is some like collective conscious thing going on that things just come in
Oh,
waves.
okay. All right. So this is a very unique question that comes up for a lot of people that I work with and my patients and my client and my coaching clients. How do you keep yourself sane? Um, because let's just be honest, your role is to help others with their emotional thermometer.
Yeah.
How do you keep yourself we're gonna say managed. I don't think managed is the right word.
Regulated?
There you go. I like that. How do you keep your own thermostat regulated?
Totally. Practice. I've been doing this for a long time, and I think it has absolutely gotten easier with time
Yeah.
to stay in your own lane, so to speak. Um, I at first, especially for a while, it was more of a conscious practice of separating out what's mine and what's not mine
Yeah,
emotionally. Tell this example to my clients all the time. Like for a while, especially when I just became a therapist, I spent my entire car ride home from work, like allowing myself to like mull over the day, to think about the things that I did or I didn't do, or I wish I had navigated differently, or like, darn, I should have said that. Or like some of like the weight of the conversations that I had. And I allow myself to like mull it over my entire ride home. But then like when I get out of my car, it like stays in my car. I like really have to make a conscious effort, or at least I used to have to make a conscious effort to like not bring that into my evening, not bring that into my home. And it was a lot of intentionality behind it for a while. At this point, I'm really fortunate. It's become pretty second nature. Like
yeah,
work stays at work. Of course, there are exceptions to the rule. There are days that are
yeah,
harder than others. But yeah, it really is setting like emotional boundaries with yourself and saying like, hey, this is mine, this is not mine. And also like doing things that fill up your cup, like making sure that you
yeah.
prioritize yourself and your needs or myself and my needs in addition, so I can hold like space for other people and their needs.
So whenever your emotional cup is fuller, then one could say that you're able to help. I know you don't do this, but you're able to help carry the burden of
Oh
somebody
yeah.
else during
Oh
that
yeah.
time. Yeah,
Yeah, I think the language that I would use is I have much more capacity to like show up and be present and
yeah,
create
yeah.
a safe
That's
container.
yeah, yeah. I like that. I was also thinking of your spectrum is wider.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
Profoundly more capacity.
yeah. You're not stuck on this wavelength. You've got the open wavelength in order to. Plus, I think it's also better as a practitioner just to have that innate ability just to be able to pay attention to somebody, be like, all right, what is it?
Right. I am here with you.
Yeah. Like, no, 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 no. The muscatoli wasn't the problem last night. Come on. No, 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 no. We're gonna dig this out. What do we got?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, like if it might feel, scary or uncomfy or whatever, but like I'm here with you in it.
yeah.
Yeah, totally.
About how long do you think it took you to get to that point? If you had to go back in your
Yeah.
career section, would you say, t time is irrelevant? I would say it's an experience factor, right? So
Yeah.
how much effort, how much energy do you think that you had to put into learning and appreciating that skill set that you have for being there and being able to parse out what's actually happening?
For myself and my self-care, or like when I'm with a human.
Answer both.
Cool, I can do that. So I think I'll speak first to self-care, like in taking care of my human. Self-care I think also gets wiggly in how it's like used in a contextually in social media now. But like I think it took me a while, especially when I had first started. It really took me a while of conscious, consistent practice of like this needs to stay in the car. This is not mine to hold. This is not something that like I need to stay up at night about. Um, I'd say maybe a year. But I joke with my clients. You don't I Therapists, humans in helping professions, like don't get into this field for fun. So we all have our own stuff that we bring into this, and I would be the first to name and admit that filling my own cup has always been hard and something that like I've actively had to work towards, of like how do I make sure my needs are just as important as somebody else's needs, and putting into myself is just as important as like holding space for other people. And that's been a harder, longer, more gray practice, I think.
So you have really good energy. You really do. I really enjoyed getting to sit and talk with you and doing our
Thank you.
Starbucks run together.
Yes, yes.
And I guess we're going down the more woo-woo energetic. This is just the natural. This is just how it's going to be. Um,
Great.
Love it. How do you? And again, we're trying to get into the. I always mix up the left brain, right brain. How do you go into the take the non-logical? I. How do you use your non-logical brain
Mm,
to translate into your logical brain to get a person from point A to point B? What is am I asking that question right? I mean, I can rephrase if you need me to.
I think I'm picking up what you're putting down.
How do you use the blue crayon to pick up the red crayon to tell the person who only holds the red crayon that there is a blue crayon that they can use? And
I'm
it's
following.
actually and that blue crayon is something that we haven't touched or tapped into, but there's this other universe out there that we can use that blue crayon in.
I'm following. Okay. S- I think it varies from person to person,
Okay.
um, to an extent anyway. And I think this is going to sound really vague and maybe not a totally clear answer,
Okay.
but here we are. I think it is really person to person and feeling out like, is this person ready to receive this information?
Yeah.
Um, are they ready for this like potential option? Do they have the capacity or like the ego strength to be able to like see or feel or actually like take in the reality of this alternative? And so I think that's tricky is like the answer is sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes I can be as clear as like, hey, have you considered blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Um, or but sometimes it's just like, huh, man, wow, that thing that you're doing, that's gotta be exhausting. Jeez. Wow. I just, it's different and it's it's different from over here because I can see this, and this.
Yeah, you're seeing all pieces of the puzzle,
Right,
and
right,
you're seeing it from that 30,000
right,
foot view, but
right,
you have a toddler on the couch
right.
across from you, and you're like, all right, I know which path we need to take here.
Yeah.
How do I get to understand that you just need to put your boots on first?
Yeah. Yes. I think it is like showing people that like, hey, there are other options if they're ready to see that. And I think it is to show I use a lot of like invitational language. I think it is to
Hmm,
say like I I'm not going to make you do anything. That is not my job. That is not what I'm here to do. What I am here to do is like show you options, help you be like, hey, you have choice here. You don't only have agency, but you have option. And do you want to take it? Let's talk through what might happen if you did something differently. And that's if they're even ready to do that. Most humans, I mean, I guess it depends, but if you're coming into therapy, there is some level of willingness to do something differently.
if you're willing to show up and sit down.
Right. So there is,
Yeah.
especially in the outpatient level, there is inherent willingness that might not be as available at like higher levels of care.
Yeah.
Um, I hope that answers your question.
No, it does. And to everybody else who's going to be listening to it, they'll figure it out eventually. And if not, they can just re-listen to it again.
Or they can find me.
Yes. Yeah.
We can have a conversation. I'm
Yeah.
sure that
Yeah.
I could say a million more things than what I'm saying right here, or more clearly.
Yeah. I get that. I get that. When it comes to people in some level of chronic pain,
Mm,
what are some things that you've seen in the past when people have chronic pain, chronic physical pain,
hmm
that they deal with when it comes to the emotional portion that comes with it?
Was it that like, do I see it or like, how do I navigate it? Or yes,
Yes.
yes, okay. Uh, yes, I do. I definitely encounter it. God bless Mr. Bessel van der Kolk, Mr. The Body Keeps the Score. That is really real and really accurate. Um, all of the humans I work with have attachment trauma and or developmental trauma,
Mhm.
and the body remembers.
Yeah.
Like everything is stored in the body.
Yes.
And so when it comes to working with it, again, I think it is human dependent. But I think some of it is, how much of it is how much of the chronic physical pain is influenced by emotional pain? And is there ways that we can get you into your body that feel safe enough? That like is there any place of resource in the body that maybe doesn't hurt as bad? Is
Okay.
there
Okay.
like can there
Yeah.
be safe enough in the body? Because a lot of times with chronic pain humans, the body becomes pretty unsafe and like somebody they're working against.
So it's not their best friend. Their body actually becomes their enemy.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I think it's like finding safe enough in the body and reestablishing connection with the body in ways that are titrated and I will continue to use the phrase safe enough.
Yeah. Okay. So this goes deep.
Yeah, I was like, man, I could be here talking about these things for hours.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a patient um, a couple months ago who she was in her 70s and she had some
Mm,
trauma, some pretty aggressive trauma when she was in her single digits.
bless you.
And she brought it up several times whenever she was here. And I was very thankful for us having our communication um, before having this patient interaction.
Mm,
And we talked about similar to this, like the body will store those memories and the bodies will store. So as we progress in care, it's your body's going to change how it actually interacts. So new memories, old memories, everything might be patterning differently
yeah.
once we start releasing those emotional subluxations. She's like,
Yes.
oh, I never thought about that. I'm like, well, she she
Right.
she was born in the she was in the mental health space herself. I'm like, you should know this. Like you should
You
know this.
know, again, I've been a therapist for a while, but I didn't have introduction or like I wasn't encouraged to be in my body for a long time.
Yeah,
And like starting in this practice, like I was like, what? But this has useful information?
yeah,
What?
yeah.
So I mean, I think, uh a lot of things in this society in our world teach us to disembody and to not like trust that as a valuable source.
Oh man, that's a wormhole in itself. I
Oh, I
mean,
know.
I mean, yeah. I mean, how it goes younger and younger and younger. How we're supposed to let's just add the whole put on makeup. I mean, why are we putting on makeup? I
Right.
mean, because we're a stylized individual for what perfectionism should be, right? I'm like, I know that's whatever. We won't go down that whole rabbit hole today. But
Fair.
wow, okay, let's cut it right there. Because if we go anymore, it's gonna
We
be
could be
good.
here for a million
We could
years.
be here for 1.5 years. You're absolutely right.
Fair.
Well, Sarah, really, thank you for doing this with me. I appreciate you. I
And I
appreciate your
you.
time and your energy.